The moon Erdine shone like a blue crystal in the dark space around it. Its mountains rose in smooth curves, glowing with gentle psionic light. And the forests hummed softly, as if the world itself was alive and breathing. On this beautiful moon lived the Erdinians, a peaceful race whose bodies shimmered like polished glass and whose voices sounded like soft chimes. Among them was a woman named Varel, known to many as a calm thinker, a wise mother, and a patient teacher. And her daughter, Lyra, was the brightest part of her life. Lyra was young, curious, and full of laughter. She loved to run through the fields of crystal grass and chase the glowing little creatures that floated in the air like tiny lanterns. She asked endless questions about the stars, the planets, and especially the strange species called humans, who sometimes appeared in Erdinian tales. Humans were said to be emotional and unpredictable, full of energy and ideas that moved faster than reason. Lyra did not fear that. She found it exciting. Every day she begged her mother for stories about distant worlds and alien travelers. Varel always smiled and indulged her. She would sit with her daughter beside the shimmering window of their home and talk about the galaxy, the ancient alliances, and the small but bold species from the distant blue planet called Earth. Lyra would listen with shining eyes, imagining herself among those far places. Life was peaceful until the day everything changed. The sun above Erdine was at its brightest when the alarm crystals rang. The ground trembled as shadows moved quickly through the sky. Varel rushed outside with Lyra close behind her. Strange ships, sleek, dark, and unfamiliar, cut through the sky like blades. They carried the mark of raiders, a dangerous group that attacked worlds without warning. The Erdinian Council ordered all civilians to seek shelter. Varel held Lyra's hand tightly and guided her toward the nearest protection chamber. But before they reached it, a violent shockwave roared through the air. A tall tower of psionic glass in the central plaza collapsed, as if it were made of dust. The impact threw Varel and Lyra off their feet. Varel hit the ground hard but managed to shield her face. When she lifted her head, she saw Lyra lying several steps away, her small body half covered by falling shards. Lyra's eyes were open, but she could not move her legs. Varel felt her heart break in an instant. Erdinian rescue teams arrived quickly. They carried Lyra to the medical center, where healers examined her with glowing hands and gentle voices. But no matter how advanced Erdinian medicine was, the injury was beyond their ability. Lyra's spine and the psionic crystal channels along her lower back were damaged in a way no healer could repair. The energy that once flowed through her body was blocked. The healers spoke with respect and sympathy, but their words were heavy and final. Lyra would never walk again. Varel tried to remain strong. But every night, when Lyra had fallen asleep, she would sit in the quiet room and let silent tears fall down her face. She felt guilt she did not deserve, pain she could not express, and fear she had never known. Erdine was safe again after the attack, but her heart was changed forever. Lyra, despite her young age, tried to smile for her mother. She said she did not mind sitting in her chair. She said she did not mind watching, instead of running. But Varel saw the truth in her daughter's eyes. Lyra missed the wind on her face when she ran. She missed feeling the soft ground under her feet. And she missed the simple freedom she once had. Months passed, and life settled into a quieter rhythm. Lyra learned to move around in her floating chair, using gentle psionic controls that responded to her thoughts. She attended lessons, read stories, and even made new friends who visited her often. But nothing filled the space that her running feet once had. Everything changed again when a new fleet appeared in Erdine's orbit. This time, the ships brought no danger. Instead, they carried flags of peace and curiosity. They were the humans of the Terran exploration convoy Argonaut. Humans were strange in the eyes of Erdinians. Their bodies were soft, their bones fragile, and their emotions visible in every movement of their faces. They spoke with warmth, laughed loudly, and moved with the restless energy of creatures who never stopped dreaming. The Erdinians welcomed them with kindness and interest. Cultural exchange meetings began immediately. And soon, humans walked the shining streets of Erdine, asking questions about everything they saw. During one of these exchange visits, the human team met Varel. They were fascinated by her calm voice and her crystalline skin. They asked her many questions about Erdinian traditions, psionic resonance, and the art of growing crystal structures through thought. Varel answered politely but remained reserved, as she always did with strangers. Then Lyra floated into the room in her chair. The humans turned toward her at once. Their eyes softened, and their expressions shifted with clear empathy. Humans, unlike many species, did not hide their emotions. They let them show openly, like bright colors on a canvas. One of the humans, a woman with short hair and intelligent eyes, introduced herself as Dr. Mara Ellis. She knelt gently beside Lyra, careful not to touch her without permission. "Hello there," she said with a warm smile. "I've never seen a chair like yours. It's beautiful." Lyra smiled shyly and explained how the chair worked. Dr. Ellis listened with great interest. Then she asked, politely and respectfully, about Lyra's injury. Varel hesitated, unsure if she should allow the discussion. But Lyra nodded, wanting to share. Dr. Ellis listened carefully and then asked if she might review the medical reports, with permission from Varel and the council. Her tone was not forceful, only hopeful. Varel allowed it. She did not expect anything to come of it. Erdinian healers had already declared the injury permanent. No alien species had ever suggested otherwise. But humans were different. A few days later, Dr. Ellis returned with Commander Jace Rowan and several scientists from the human team. Their faces carried a strange mixture of excitement and seriousness. Varel felt her heart tighten. She did not want false hope, but she also could not silence the small spark inside her that whispered of possibility. Dr. Ellis inhaled deeply and said, "We studied everything, and we believe there may be a way to help Lyra." The room fell silent. Varel stared at the humans in disbelief. "Your medical technology does not work with our biology," she said softly. "Erdinian crystal neurology is too different." Dr. Ellis nodded. "Yes, it is. And you're right. Our technology alone won't fix it. But maybe, just maybe, something new could." Commander Rowan smiled in a way that looked confident, almost stubborn. "Humans are good at trying things that don't make sense," he said. "Sometimes they work." 10. Varel did not understand. "Your doctors have never treated Erdinian injuries before." "That's true," Dr. Ellis said. "But the thing is, impossible doesn't mean no. It just means not yet." Those words struck Varel in a strange way. They were simple, almost childish. Yet, they carried a weight she had not felt in a long time. Lyra looked up at the humans with wide eyes. "You really think you can fix me?" Dr. Ellis lowered her gaze to Lyra's level. "I think we can try with everything we have." Humans began working immediately. They asked permission from the council and were given a special research chamber. They spent long days studying Erdinian energy patterns, crystal growth channels, and neural resonance signals. They worked with tools that glowed, hummed, sparked, and sometimes broke. But every time something failed, the humans simply tried again. Erdinian observers were confused by this behavior. They believed in careful planning, precise execution, and calm logic. Humans seemed to believe in passion, chaos, and determination. Weeks passed. Varel watched the humans with quiet amazement. They reminded her of fire, bright, unpredictable, and warm. They did not stop. They did not slow down. They did not accept the idea of hopelessness. One morning, Dr. Ellis approached Varel with gentle eyes. "We're ready to test the device," she said. if you choose to allow it. Varel looked at her daughter, who sat in her chair with trembling hands. Lyra's eyes were filled with both fear and incredible hope. Varel placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder and whispered, "Do you want this?" Lyra nodded. "I want to walk again. Mother, I want to try." Varel turned to the humans. "Then we will try." The procedure began the next day. The room was filled with soft lights, gentle hums, and the quiet breathing of both species. The hybrid device created by humans and Erdinians glowed with a soft blue pulse, wrapping Lyra in a field of mixed energy. Varel held her breath as the device activated. Sparks flickered. The field wavered, and for a terrifying second it seemed like everything might fail. Humans rushed to control the energy, adjusting wires, stabilizing power, and shouting quick instructions to one another. Then, slowly, the field steadied. Lyra closed her eyes. She felt something new, something she had not felt in months. A tingling sensation ran through her legs like the soft brush of warm water. Varel's hands trembled. She dared not speak. Dr. Ellis watched the readings with a hopeful smile. Varel felt a tiny spark of hope awaken inside her. A gentle flame she thought she would never feel again. For the first time since the accident, she believed that the future might hold something more than sorrow. She believed that humans, with all their strange ways, might actually do the impossible, but powerful, like a new star, flickering into life. For the first time since the accident, Lyra woke each morning with excitement instead of sadness. She waited for the humans to return with new ideas, new adjustments, and new hope. Varel saw the spark in her daughter's eyes and felt her heart lighten. She watched the humans enter the research chamber every day with messy hair, tired eyes, and hands full of new tools. They always greeted Lyra with smiles, jokes, or warm words. Humans, she realized, had a talent for lifting spirits, even when their own energy was running low. The human team worked in ways that confused and amazed the Erdinians. They argued loudly over theories, laughed at mistakes, and celebrated tiny successes as if they were grand victories. Erdinian scientists observed with quiet fascination. They had never seen such emotional intensity in a research team before. Where Erdinians used calm logic and careful planning, humans used passion and improvisation. Sometimes the humans' equipment would suddenly spark or make loud noises. Erdinian observers would step back in alarm, but the humans simply tapped the machines or adjusted wires, completely unshaken. One day, after a device made a loud popping sound, Commander Rowan just sighed, wiped his forehead, and said, "Well, that's normal." Dr. Ellis was the heart of the team. She spent hours studying Lyra's unique biology, then helping design tools that blended human technology with Erdinian psionic energy. She often spoke to Lyra in a gentle, patient tone, explaining every step in simple words. Lyra understood most of it, though sometimes her young mind struggled with the details. Even so, she listened carefully, because the humans treated her like an important part of the process, not just a patient. As days turned into weeks, the tingling in Lyra's legs returned more often. At first, it came only when the device was active. Later, even without the machine, she felt faint sensations, warmth, pressure, slight twitching. Varel tried to stay calm, but inside her heart felt like a storm of joy. Every night she sat beside Lyra's bed and listened to her daughter describe the small changes she felt. Varel held her close, grateful for each new sign of progress. The Erdinian Council watched everything with growing curiosity. Some members were impressed by the humans' determination. Others were uncertain, worried that the experimental technology was too risky. Erdinians valued caution. They believed that careful, measured steps led to safe outcomes. But humans believed that bold steps led to new worlds. One evening, after a long testing session, Varel invited Dr. Ellis to their home for a moment of rest. The human scientist, accepted with a tired smile. When she entered the Erdinian house, she looked around with wide eyes at the glowing walls and soft, crystal furniture. "It's beautiful," she murmured. "Your homes feel alive." Varel offered her a warm drink made from moonfruit nectar. Dr. Ellis tasted it and let out a pleased hum. "How do humans keep doing this?" Varel asked suddenly, her voice filled with honest confusion. "You try things that should not work, yet somehow, they do." Dr. Ellis laughed gently. "Humans don't like the word impossible. It irritates us," she said. "When someone tells us something can't be done, we take it as a challenge." Varel tilted her head. "But what if you fail?" "Then we learn," Dr. Ellis said softly. "And we try again." Varel looked down at her hands, glowing faintly in the evening light. "Your way is frightening," she admitted. "But also inspiring." Dr. Ellis set her cup down. "I understand. But if trying gives Lyra even a chance to walk again, then every risk is worth it." Varel felt emotion rise in her chest. She nodded in gratitude, unable to say more. The next morning, the final stage of testing began. The hybrid device was now stronger and more stable. It had grown into a complex structure of human wires and Erdinian crystals that pulsed in perfect harmony. The humans called it the Resonance Bridge. The name sounded poetic to Varel, though she did not fully understand its meaning. Lyra was placed gently in the center of the device. Soft lights surrounded her. The machine hummed with a peaceful sound, like distant wind through crystal trees. Dr. Ellis checked every connection twice. Commander Rowan monitored the power flow. Other human scientists prepared emergency backups. Erdinian healers stood nearby, ready to assist if needed. Varel stood close to her daughter, holding her hand. "Are you ready, Lyra?" Dr. Ellis asked. Lyra nodded, her eyes bright with courage. "I'm ready." The device activated slowly. A warm glow surrounded Lyra, then spread through her body. Varel held her breath. Lyra closed her eyes, as the sensation grew stronger. At first, everything seemed calm. Then the light began to pulse more intensely. The humans exchanged quick looks, adjusting controls to stabilize the field. "Energy rising too fast," one human reported. "Lower resonance by 3%, Dr. Ellis ordered. Erdinian healers stood tensely, watching as the lights shifted between blue and white. The machine shook slightly. Several Erdinians gasped, but the humans remained focused. "Hold steady." "Steady, Commander," Rowan murmured. Lyra's body trembled as the energy moved through her legs. But she did not cry out. She gripped the sides of her chair and breathed deeply. Suddenly, a soft gasp escaped her lips. "Mother, I feel something." Varel's heart beat like a drum. "What do you feel?" "My child. Warmth. And movement," Lyra whispered. "Like the crystals inside my legs are waking up." The humans shared wide smiles, but they did not stop their work. The device continued to stabilize the energy flow. Slowly, the trembling stopped. The humming grew softer, smoother, more controlled. Lyra opened her eyes. "I can feel my toes." "No." Varel felt her knees weaken. She nearly fell, but an Erdinian healer caught her gently. Dr. Ellis checked the readings, her face glowing with hope. The energy flowed for several more minutes before the procedure was safely completed. The lights dimmed. The humming faded. The machine powered down without any sudden sparks or alarms, an impressive success, even by human standards. When the field dissolved, Lyra lifted her hands slowly and looked at her legs. She tried to move her toes, and they twitched, visibly. Varel gasped aloud. "Try again," Dr. Ellis said gently. Lyra concentrated. This time her toes curled slightly. The room erupted in soft cheers and excited chatter. Even the calm Erdinian healers could not hide their amazement. Varel covered her mouth with both hands, tears streaming down her face. A human scientist let out a joyful shout. Yes, we did it. Commander Rowan placed a hand on his chest. That's the human spirit for you. Lyra was smiling so widely her cheeks hurt. She reached for her mother, who embraced her tightly. You were so brave, Varel whispered. It's not over yet. Dr. Ellis reminded gently. Her body needs time. Walking may not happen for days or weeks, but this is more progress than we dreamed of. Varel nodded with deep gratitude. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. All of you. The humans shook their heads humbly. We're not finished, Commander Rowan said. Humanity started something. Now we'll see it through. Over the next days, Lyra practiced tiny movements. First, she moved her toes. Then, her ankles trembled slightly. Then she lifted her legs a few centimeters with effort. Each improvement brought new joy to Varel, new pride to the humans, and new wonder to the Erdinian Council. Erdinians from all over the moon visited the observation chamber to see the child who was healing in ways once considered impossible. They watched humans work with determination, discussing theories with waving hands and expressive faces. The more they observed, the more Erdinians realized something important. Humans were not powerful because of their bodies or their technology. They were powerful because they refused to give up. They pushed against limits until those limits broke. One evening, after a long practice session, Lyra managed to straighten her legs while sitting. It was a small victory, but everyone clapped and cheered as if she had climbed a mountain. Varel hugged her daughter, feeling more hope than she had ever imagined she could feel again. Humans had brought light back into their lives, and deep inside, Varel sensed that something even greater was approaching, something that would change not only Lyra's future, but the future of both species. Lyra was getting closer to her first step, and the moment was coming when the impossible would become real. The morning of the final test began quietly. The sky above Erdine glowed with a pale silver light, and the soft crystals in the trees hummed gently, as if the whole moon was holding its breath. Lyra woke early, feeling a strange mix of excitement and fear. Today felt different. Today felt important. Varel stood by the window of their home, watching the horizon. She felt her own heartbeat fast and uneven. She had dreamed of this day for months. Yet now that it was close, she was almost afraid to hope too much. Hope was powerful, but it could also be painful. Still, when Lyra turned toward her and smiled, Varel felt courage rise inside her. The humans arrived shortly after sunrise. Dr. Ellis entered with a calm but bright expression. Commander Rowan looked excited, though he tried to hide it behind a serious face. The other human scientists carried new tools, pads of notes, and small energy crystals that had been adapted from Erdinian technology. Good morning, Lyra. Lyra nodded, gripping the sides of her floating chair. I'm ready. Varel placed a gentle hand on her daughter's shoulder. I will be right here. They traveled together to the research chamber, a wide room filled with soft lights and glowing structures. The resonance bridge sat in the center, looking more refined and stable than ever before. Its crystals pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. The humans had spent the last several days strengthening it and making sure it was safe. A small crowd of observers had gathered today. Erdinian council members, healers, scientists, and even some curious civilians stood at a respectful distance. They knew this moment was historic. Humans stood on one side of the room, Erdinians on the other, but everyone shared the same feeling, deep anticipation. As Lyra was carefully helped into position inside the device, the room fell silent. Dr. Ellis checked every connection one final time. Commander Rowan tested the power cores. The Erdinian healers whispered soft, calming words, adding a soft psionic glow to the air. Before we begin, Commander Rowan said, I want to say something. Everyone turned toward him. Humans were known for their speeches, and Erdinians had learned to listen patiently. "When we first came here," Rowan said, "we saw a world full of beauty and calm. But we also saw a child who had lost something precious. Humans can't stand watching someone suffer without trying to help. That is our nature. Today, we try one last time not because we are certain we will succeed, but because we refuse to stop trying." Dr. Ellis smiled softly. Varel lowered her head in gratitude. Lyra looked at the humans with shining eyes. Then the test began. Light filled the room as the resonance bridge activated. A gentle humming echoed through the chamber. The crystals glowed brighter and brighter until they wrapped Lyra in a soft halo. She closed her eyes, breathing slowly as the energy moved through her. The device synchronized human technology with Erdinian resonance. Blue and white currents circled around Lyra's legs. The humans watched their monitors closely. The Erdinians observed the flow of psionic energy, noting every tiny change. At first, everything seemed as usual: the warmth, the tingling, the slight trembling in her legs. But then, something new happened. A ripple of energy moved through Lyra's spine, flowing down to her knees and ankles. She gasped softly. "Are you all right?" Varel asked quickly. "Yes," Lyra whispered. "It feels stronger." Dr. Ellis leaned forward. "That's exactly what we hoped for. Keep breathing." The light grew even brighter. For a moment, the entire room shone like a star had burst open. Then, slowly, the light began to fade. The humming softened. The resonance bridge powered down with a steady, controlled vibration. The room fell into a peaceful silence. The test was complete. Dr. Ellis checked the readings. Her eyes widened. She looked at Commander Rowan, who looked back in disbelief. Varel stepped forward, unable to wait any longer. "What do the readings show?" Dr. Ellis exhaled slowly, her voice trembling slightly. "They show full restoration of neural resonance. Lyra's signal is normal." Varel felt tears rising in her eyes. "Is that possible?" "It is," Dr. Ellis said with a smile. "It means she should be able to stand." The room seemed to freeze in time. Lyra stared at her legs. Her hands shook. She swallowed hard and looked at her mother. "Can I try?" Varel nodded, though her voice was lost in her throat. She placed both hands gently beneath Lyra's arms, ready to support her if needed. Dr. Ellis stepped back but kept her eyes focused. "Take your time. No rush." Lyra pressed her hands on the armrests of her chair. Slowly, carefully, she shifted her weight forward. Her legs trembled. A soft gasp spread through the observers. Erdinians leaned forward. Humans held their breath. Lyra pushed harder. Her legs straightened. And then, for the first time in many months, Lyra stood. Varel let out a cry of pure joy, covering her mouth as tears streamed down her face. Lyra wobbled slightly, but she stayed upright. She looked down at her own feet, amazed beyond words. "I'm standing," she whispered. The room erupted in soft cheers. Erdinian crystals glowed brighter. Humans hugged each other in excitement. Dr. Ellis wiped her eyes. "You're doing it, Lyra." Lyra looked up at her mother, and the smile on her face was brighter than the lights around her. "Mother, I want to try walking." Varel's heart felt like it was bursting. She nodded quickly. "Yes, yes, my child. Try." Commander Rowan moved to clear space. He whispered instructions to the humans, who stepped back to give Lyra room. Erdinians watched in complete silence, their glowing bodies reflecting the moment. Lyra took her first step. It was small, shaky, and slow, but it was a step. Then she took another. And another. Varel followed beside her, ready to catch her if she fell. But Lyra did not fall. Her legs were weak, but they obeyed her. With every step, her confidence grew. Her smile grew. Her heart felt light. Half the room was crying now, humans and Erdinians alike. When Lyra finally reached her mother, She fell into her arms, both laughing and sobbing. Varel held her tightly, whispering words of love and pride. "My beautiful daughter," she said. "You are walking again. You are walking." Dr. Ellis joined them with a gentle smile. "You did this, Lyra. Your strength made it possible." Lyra shook her head. "No. You did it. Humans did it. You never gave up." Commander Rowan stepped forward. "We only showed you the path. You walked it." The Erdinian council members bowed their heads in deep respect. One of them, Elder Mylor, spoke softly. "Humans have shown us something we forgot," he said. "We have lived in peace and stability for so long that we grew afraid of risks. But humans embrace the unknown, without fear." Another council member added, "You have done the impossible. We will never forget this." The humans looked humbled, almost embarrassed by the praise. Dr. Ellis shook her head. "We didn't do the impossible. We just refused to stop trying." Word spread across Erdine within hours. Everywhere on the moon, Erdinians glowed brightly in celebration. Children laughed, healers sang soft psionic melodies, and adults spoke with awe about the humans who had brought hope back into their world. Lyra became a symbol of courage and possibility. She spent days practicing her walking, growing stronger and steadier. Humans celebrated each small improvement with loud cheers, while Erdinians offered gentle support and admiration. As days passed, a new bond formed between the two species. Humans shared their technology and determination. Erdinians shared their knowledge and calm wisdom. Together, they began designing new medical tools that blended both their strengths. One evening, Varel invited the entire human team to her home for a celebration. Lyra walked to the door herself to welcome them. When she opened it, the humans burst into cheers and applause. "You're walking," Commander Rowan said with a huge grin. Lyra laughed. "Yes, watch how fast I am now." She took several confident steps across the room, and the humans cheered again. Dr. Ellis bent down to look into Lyra's eyes. "You have come so far. I am proud of you." Lyra hugged her. "Thank you for believing in me." Dr. Ellis hugged her back. "Always." Varel watched them with deep gratitude. She approached Dr. Ellis and placed her hand over the humans in a gesture of respect. "You gave my daughter her future back," Varel said softly. "I will never forget what humans have done." Dr. Ellis shook her head gently. "Your daughter's strength guided us. We only followed." Varel smiled. "Humans have a gift. You bring hope where others have lost it." Commander Rowan raised a small cup of moonfruit drink. "To Lyra, and to a future where humans and Erdinians build miracles together." Everyone lifted their cups. Lyra did too. The room glowed with warmth, and on that quiet, peaceful night, Lyra took one more step, one that echoed far beyond her home, far beyond the moon of Erdine. Her step became the beginning of a new chapter in the galaxy, a chapter where two very different species discovered something powerful. When hope ends, humans keep walking.